The chapter begins by mentioning an ancient prophecy. It speaks of a king, someone from another world, an empty vessel waiting to be filled. The man made into a god who is called the Darkseid. Then we jump to Aquaman, who after stepping out of a portal, finds himself on an alien planet. He sees a massive portal with Darkseid's Omega symbol and pauses for a moment deep in thought. But now is not the time for that. He needs to focus on finding Atlantis and his family, and woe to anyone who stands in his way. He then hears something in the distance like a mirage, a group of small green creatures riding giant lizards. The creatures announce themselves as the Greenteeth, which according to the myths Aquaman has heard, are underwater beings that lure children to their deaths. They claim they will take Aquaman to their mistress, but of course Arthur won't surrender so easily. It's true that he doesn't have his trident, but the ground is muddy, and where there's moisture, there's water. The hero uses his powers to control the mud, throwing it into the Greenteeth's eyes to temporarily blind them. As for the lizards, Arthur subdues them as well, even grabbing them by the tongue and striking them with his super strength. The Greenteeths warn that their mistress will be furious, but the King of the Seas tells them not to worry. He intends to speak with the Queen himself and asks them to take him to her. On the way, Arthur notices that the creatures are terrified of their failure, which suggests that their mistress is not someone who forgives easily. Eventually, they arrive at a strange place built from wreckage and ship debris covered in seaweed, indicating that this area was fully submerged not too long ago. As he climbs a massive staircase, the creatures Arthur defeated warn that their mistress will make him pay, and that he will suffer a painful death. Until finally, Aquaman enters the place and meets the queen of the Greenteeths, the mythological hag, Greenteeth. The hero states that he is only looking for Atlantis and is not there to fight. However, she responds that the water in this world has dried up. The blue is being disrupted, so the water is no longer spreading, and without it, the red and the green are also dying. Therefore, they must collect as much water as they can, even if it comes from Aquaman's blood. Yes, this is where a battle begins between them, and Jenny summons vine-like tendrils as strong as steel that emerge from the ground. The vines pull Aquaman into a cellar filled with skeletons hanging from vines attached to the ceiling. The thorns of the vines manage to pierce Arthur's skin and begin extracting his blood. This is the water Jenny wanted. All those skeletons hanging there had their blood drained and collected in a type of cistern, and it seems the King of the Seas is about to meet the same fate. He struggles to break free, but the vines only tighten around him. Then, suddenly, an old man with long hair and a beard, who is also imprisoned, explains that the more Arthur resists, the more the plants will cut into him. The man confirms that he has been drained for a while, but he doesn't know exactly how long, as time flows differently in the blue. Still, with Aquaman's arrival, he believes they have a chance to escape if Arthur uses his powers to control the blood. Somehow he knows Arthur can manipulate water and had moved the mud before. He even claims that he too has powers, though he is now too weak. Arthur focuses intensely, trying to move the water within his blood, and with great effort he manages to pull a single drop back into his body as it falls. At this moment, Aquaman can feel everything. He draws the blood from the cistern, sending it surging upward like a storm of razors, slicing through the vines and freeing both himself and the old man beside him. The two fall into the cistern below, and the old man introduces himself as Arion, an ancestor of Arthur and the former King of Atlantis. Shocked by this revelation, Arthur asks how he ended up there, but Arion insists there's no time to explain. They must escape. However, Arthur refuses to leave, knowing Arion is in no condition to flee. Instead, he intends to kill Jenny for good. And sure enough, while Jenny the Hag is scolding the creatures who had been defeated by Aquaman, the hero suddenly bursts through the floor of her throne room in a wave of blood. Controlling the blood, he launches his attack on the villain, and Arion, climbing up through the hole, realizes that this matches the ancient prophecy of the Darkseid, a king from another world, an empty vessel waiting to be filled, the man made into a god. As the fight rages on, Aquaman feels that Jenny is feeding on a body that is not her own, and for that, she must be destroyed. Using his powers, he forces the dark creature out of the body, revealing a woman in a purple dress with small horns on her head, a woman whom Arion calls Lady and rejoices that she is finally free. Now, without a host, Jenny attempts to take over Aquaman's body, only for the hero to tear the parasite in half. Even so, the creature appears to survive and simply vanishes into the ground, but not before uttering, "Dagon lives." Upon witnessing Aquaman's feat, Arion and the woman in purple kneel before the hero, declaring that he is the fulfillment of the prophecy. He is the dark tide crashing upon the shores of his enemies. He is the vessel waiting to be filled. He is the new god. A little later, Arion and the mysterious woman revealed to be Vivian, the Lady of the Lake, take Aquaman away from the dry riverbed to an ice wall. They spent days reaching this massive ice wall, with the couple promising Arthur that at the top of this tower they will answer his questions about his family, his people, and the prophecy. As they climb the ice wall, they come across a lake surrounded by ice stones, with an anvil at the center and another portal, similar to the Omega portal, but this time in the form of the Greek letter Lambda. Arthur asks where exactly they are, and Vivian replies that this is her home. Meanwhile, Dagon, the ruler of the blue, the source of all the water in the universe, watches Aquaman closely, claiming that he is a worthy vessel, a worthy avatar of his greatness. Because of this, he orders the mercenary maids, led by a very familiar character, to bring Aquaman to his feet. Back to Aquaman, Vivian tells him that the water of the blue that fed the lake froze and was carried downstream where it was infected by Jenny. Though the lake has changed, the endless fire of the anvil still burns, which means she will be able to use the forge. Arion also has his magic restored and creates a magical shield around them. According to the former King of Atlantis, they will need to create a new weapon for Arthur to kill Dagon and fulfill the prophecy. Aquaman says he doesn't care about Dagon and just wants his family back, but Arion insists that Dagon was the one who took them. This frustrates Arthur. He's tired of Arion's cryptic words and demands to know what's going on and why Dagon took Atlantis. It's here that it's revealed that before the universe was created, there was only order and chaos existing in harmony. However, chaos disrupted the balance, and order responded by imposing structure on the universe, concentrating the chaotic energies into objects like the Green Lantern's central battery, or elemental forces like the green and its elemental creatures. The beings known as gods took control of these forces and declared themselves masters of reality. But in truth, they were mere thieves. Still, the elemental forces act according to their own will. One of them is the blue, which spreads the hope of life to all planets and living beings through the confluence. The water of the blue is the source of all life, and Dagon took control of it, hoarding it all for himself. He tells Arthur that Atlantis must have possessed something that linked it back to the blue, and thus it was drawn when Dagon began to summon the water for himself, which Arthur realizes was that pearl found in the first issue. Arion also mentions that now that Dagon has cut the blue off from the universe, mud creatures like Jenny have started crawling to the surface. The gods will go mad, the water will disappear, and eventually, all life will end. The only way to reverse the situation is for Aquaman to fulfill the prophecy of the Darkseid, to become the vessel for the power of a god to help him defeat Dagon. Arthur reflects on whether this is the right thing to do. After all, He could be the vessel for something very bad, like Darkseid himself. But the truth is, Aquaman would become the very demon to save Mera and his people. So he gives Vivian a sample of his blood to create the weapon that can defeat Dagon. They send him outside the protective shield while they work on the mystical energies, which are too dangerous even for Arthur. Then, finally, the portal with the lambda symbol activates, and out come the mercenary maids sent by Dagon. It's here that we discover their leader is none other than Lori Lemaris, an old girlfriend of Superman. When Arthur asks what she's doing here, Lori replies that she came for him. Then she simply stabs Aquaman and whispers an apology. The blow freezes the hero's words instantly, as the poison spreads through his veins, freezing his arms and legs until Arthur is completely frozen. The mercenary maids then place the hero in a net and take him back through the portal. Meanwhile, inside the shield, Arion and Vivian couldn't see or hear any of this. It's even revealed that Vivian created Excalibur and Poseidon's trident. But when Vivian finishes the new weapon and they leave to deliver it to Aquaman, Arion realizes he's gone, and the Lambda portal was activated. To finish, Aquaman finally wakes up chained to the mast of a ship. He asks where he is being taken, to which Lori replies that they are taking him to the Blue and to Lord Dagon. And indeed, on the last page, we see the ship sailing through a river in space, heading toward a water planet. If you were as impressed as I was with this issue, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because we have many more incredible analyses coming your way. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you won't miss any content we're preparing for you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next adventure.